Where do you see the team improving, on the offensive side of the ball? Do you see signs that things are going in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, each week's different week, but you start back to the Carolina game, and I thought we missed some big plays, came out early in that first drive and did well. But I did think we were inconsistent. I thought we were definitely inconsistent versus Arizona, but you take it to the Seattle game and thought we ran the ball as good as we could. Weren't great in the pass game. You go to the Rams game, I thought we did a much better job in the pass game and made a lot more explosive plays. And then you go to the Arizona game, and it was, I thought there was times that we had a chance to score a lot of points, and those opportunities we had, especially in the first half, we missed. And then we really struggled and went cold in the fourth quarter and went on a 19-play drive in overtime that came up short from a touchdown but got a field goal. So, if you look at the tape, there's lots of things to be encouraged about. It's tough as a coach if you ever turn it on and feel like you're not doing anything good, but I haven't felt that way really once after any of the 4 games. I know we got to do better and got to clean a lot of stuff up, but that's the goal, to get better each week.
Looking at some of the advanced metrics in your special team, the very top of the NFL, as a coach, especially when you're struggling and with a young team, is special teams something you could look at and say, hey, if we're at the top there, that's a sign that the effort is there, that you got guys that are playing hungry football?
I see the effort there in all 3 phases. You still have to play well, so it starts with effort, but it goes to executing and playing the best that you can. And I thought we, statistic-wise and result-wise, we've done a better job of that on special teams compared to the other 2 phases. We've been more consistent in all 4 games, like you're saying. I really don't come to conclusions really till the year's over. There's a lot of ebb and flow throughout a year. Each game's different depending on the matchups, what type of people you're going against. You always rate a team, but it's also different. The battles inside a game. What's the matchup? The offense versus their defense, the defense versus their offense, and the special teams. And each week's a little bit different. And I think our special teams have definitely been the most consistent, have done the best so far. But we'll see when the year's over.
Diagnosed concussions just over a year. Given that history, do you know how the medical staff will handle this situation any differently?
I think we handle that situation as delicate as you possibly can. I think we all know how serious those things are, and I think whether you have one or whether you have a lot, we still handle them all as delicately as you could. So I don't think you could handle it any harder or give any more effort than you do. I think everyone knows how serious those things are, and you got to look into everything. That's why we go through a protocol. And there's a lot of steps into coming back, and that's what Marquise is in now. He's had it happen to him a few times, so I think he understands the process and how it goes. But I was very glad our guys recognized it quick. Marquise communicated fast, and they got him out of that game early, and hopefully he'll recover this week. But
How did that occur? Was it on a play that when the ball wasn't even going to him, right?
No, it happened he thinks it happened on the play that went to him, the one that he caught on the sidelines. It doesn't look big, so that's why it wasn't real obvious, but if you slow it down, he did land a little bit on his head into the ground, and that's where he thinks it happened. He didn't notice it right away, and he stayed in for about 4 more plays, I think, and then he came to the sidelines and started feeling some stuff, so he's talked to them, and then they got him right away to evaluate it, and then it got stronger as they were evaluating him, so they shut him down.
How do you assess the pass protection and what can be done to improve it?
I think the pass protection's been pretty good. I think our strengths are tackles outside. I think they've done a good job. They did a decent job last week. When guys pressure, you can't hold on to the ball. We got to pick those blitzes up and get rid of it. I thought we did a pretty good job in that for the most part. We missed a couple blitz and safeties with our backs in the game, which hurt us a couple times. But I've been pretty pleased with our protection.
Trent Brown. What do you make of Trent Brown? You just talk about the protection. I know you weren't here last year, but what have you seen in his developments from when you arrived to now?
Just that I think he's just working to get more consistent, and I think he has. Trent's strength is his protection. He's a very big, long guy that's hard to get around. He can put together some very impressive clips, and I think he's done a pretty good job for us this year. And I thought he did a pretty good job for the team last year, just watching him on tape. And his whole deal is just trying to get better and more consistent. I think one hard thing about O-linemen is that people don't really notice you until you miss. And so you can play a perfect game, but you have one bad mistake at the end of the game, and it's a crucial sack, and then you played bad. So the more consistent you can be, which I think he will be, the more he plays, the more he's in this scheme, the more he can just be decisive in everything he does, because he's a very talented guy. And what I've been impressed with Trent since I've been here is I believe he's working at it, and I believe he's going for it.
Kyle, you said you saw stuff on the tape offensively that encourages you, but some of the players after this last loss were just frustrated. Obviously, being 0-4 hasn't been a lot of success for the veterans that have been here before. How do you approach that? How do you keep that energy level that in the players that they had all training camp, all off season?
I mean, you watch the tape together. I mean, everyone after a loss is frustrated. You try not to lose perspective and just sit and focus on 0-4. If I sit and think about 0-4 and just constantly harp on the results, I'll get the same way. And I think that's human nature, and I think everyone feels that way after a loss. But then you go back and you watch the tape and you coach and you study and you try to get better. And I do strongly believe that when you lose 3 games by a total of 8 points, that you very easily could have won those games, and just by 1 or 2 plays going different. And if 1 or 2 plays would have gone different, we'd be 3-1, and people would probably be hyping us up, telling us that we're something maybe more than we are. And then you got to put that in perspective. You didn't make those plays and you're 0-4, and people might be telling you that you're worse than you are. It all depends what you see on the tape, and that's why you try to keep it real and keep perspective, and you focus on the process. And what I can say is I do see some good things on tape, and that's why I think we've had a chance to win all those 3 games. But it hasn't been good enough, and that's why we didn't get it done, and we got to finish. And we've had opportunities in these last 3 games to win at the end, and we haven't finished. That goes from the coaching staff to all the players, and we got to make those plays in the moment of truth that are the difference in winning and losing. And when you don't overcome those mistakes.
What Brian was saying after the game, that his back had locked up, is he feeling 100%? Do you think any of that impacted the fourth quarter?
I don't know. You have to ask him on that. I think it's always harder to play when you're not feeling 100%, but I don't think any football player feels 100% throughout a game. You get hit throughout the game, and then it does wear on you. But I know he's practicing today, so he's good enough to practice, but I'm sure he's still trying to recover from it.
Limited at all? Does CJ get first-team reps for the first time, or is that?
No, CJ always does. We always give CJ reps with the first team. Always do that with all the backup quarterbacks. You don't have the starter take every single rep. You mix them in. You mix them in when the quarterback's 100%, and if you can't take them all because of injury, then you got to mix them in more.
You guys extended K1 Williams last week. Are the guys being discussed, and where do things stand with Carlos Hyde in that regard? Yeah, we discuss everything with all those players. We know all the guys are up. We discuss Carlos. I've been very happy with Carlos. I think he's been doing a good job for us, and still early in the year, and I expect it to continue. I know he battled through an injury last week, but I've been very pleased with Carlos. Sort of a wait and see with him. Do you want to see more games from him more? I think it's the same situation with everyone. It's not just a simple wait and see. It's you got to do best for the player, best for the team. Best contract-wise from a business standpoint. We'd love to just re-sign everybody and get it done right away and not have to worry about anything. But there's a business part of it that goes into it, and it's not just Carlos. It's all the guys.
On Monday, you mentioned that guys might be pressing a little bit. Is there a way to remedy that other than just doing it?
Yeah. There's no. You can talk forever, and I get it, but you're going to press if you sit here and constantly harp on. Everyone says you're 0-4. Everyone says you're horrible. Everyone says you're not better. Everyone says you'll press when you start to think of that stuff. You have to look at the tape. You have to look at what you do. You have to work on getting better every single day. It's a long year, and a lot of things can turn things around. But if you sit and harp on what's happened in the past, what your record is, stuff you can't really control at this time, then you will press. You'll make it a lot harder on yourself to perform, and that's what I try to get guys to constantly do.
As an observer from afar, what stands out to you about Frank Gore, particularly about his longevity and everything that he had to overcome early in his career?
Frank's been, I don't know Frank personally. I don't think I've ever talked to him before, but Frank's been one of my favorites in the league since he came out of school. He was a guy I remember being in quality control in Tampa, and just I think my first year was when he came out, and always studying guys. I remember being in love with him then and watching him throughout his career, and I know everyone knows how good he is, but I still think he's one of the most underrated backs of our generation, and I have nothing but respect for Frank.
Kyle, how did you think the pregame demonstration came off the other day? And do you envision that being something that will continue, or is it a one-time thing because you hadn't had a chance to do anything yet?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it came off because I was standing there looking at the flag, and so I'm not sure how it came off. That would be more me to ask you guys. But I think the players were happy with it. They never got, I think what was different for us is we never got our opportunity after what happened the week before. And so I think everyone wanted the opportunity to show the unity and to show that we were together regardless of any differences of opinions. I think the players were pleased with that. And as far as going forward, they haven't mentioned anything to me. I'm assuming that we'll go back to doing whatever you've done for the flag the rest of your life. So I know I will, and if they bring anything to my attention that they'd like to do, then I'll have that discussion with them.
During Matt Breida's touchdown catch last week, if you could call that play over again, it didn't count because of the offensive pass interference penalty. Would you have had Pierre Garçon run that rub route just because he's a veteran and has more experience running that route and may have gotten the benefit of the doubt from the official?
No, I wouldn't. I don't think that way. I hope that our guys don't. I hope they don't give guys benefit of the doubt based off how many years they play. They either call it or they don't. I don't think that they look at who it was and decide how to call it then. They called that. You got to live with it. Sometimes that doesn't get called. Sometimes it does. You got to adjust to how they're playing in the game. But no, I don't look at who to put on it for that reason. I think it was unnecessary to even touch the guy. We didn't want him to touch him. I don't think it had any effect on the play. So I think that the result would have been the exact same whether he nicked him or not. So yeah, we didn't want him to touch him.
A couple more.
A pass catching at Georgia Southern. How has he kind of developed into that role? The pass catching aspect of it, and also the protection part.
Yeah, he's developing. He's been very good in protections. For not a guy who's very big, he does not flinch. He puts his feet in the ground and he puts his face in people. So you have to have that, especially at his size, to have a chance to protect. He's also a smart guy who works at it, so he's got his eyes in the right spot. In the pass game, he has the ability with his speed and stuff. But you're right, he hasn't done a lot of it, so he's still developing, and he's still pretty good where he's at, but I plan on him getting a lot better as it goes.
Punting question. Pinion had a couple pretty clutch punts.
Yeah.
Statistically, it's early, but he's having the best season of his career. Just what have your impressions been of it?
I've been real excited with him. He's done a very good job, especially his kickoffs too, kicking it out of the end zone all the time. I keep messing with our special teams coordinator because he always says there's 4 phases in special teams, but I see a touchback every time, so I'm starting to call it 2 phases, which he doesn't like when I do that. But that's because of our kicker. He's done a great job doing that, and he's had some big punts in some key situations.